Well, hello everybody. Let me tell you what we got going on today. This is day 3 in our chapter 4. Last time we graphed the quadratics and you had to tell me where the x-axis, where it crossed the x-axis. This is the day after that. So my plans today is I will answer any questions that people might have on day 2 of the worksheet. We will also take a homework quiz. So if you have not got that made up, you'll need to get in and get that made up for us. And then what I start today is I show you another way to find the x-intercepts without having to do all that graphing. So you should have the class day 3 notes right in front of you. Follow along and we'll see what we got. I got a few things before we get to your examples, of course. These are the answers to your worksheet, I believe. So you can always pause the video and check that before you come in. There's the last few of them. And if there's any questions, I would use this screen to get them, but since it's a video, we won't have that. So, I do have a worksheet that just is a numbers game. If I didn't get that to you, you'll be at a slight disadvantage, but nothing bad, so hang with me. But let me go here first. Let me review FOIL with you. We did this early in the year, so now let me review it, and it should look familiar. But this FOIL, remember what FOIL stands for? It's used when we want to multiply two binomials. It means multiply the two first terms first. The O stands for the two outer terms. The I stands for the two inner terms. And the L stands for the two last terms. And I'll show you what I mean as we go. This is not on your class note sheet, so hang with me on this. But I would like to FOIL these out. I'd like to take these monomials and multiply them together. So here's what I'm going to have. X plus 5 times x minus 7. I'm going to multiply the first term to the first term. X times x is x squared. Now I'm going to go get the O, the two outside terms. X times negative 7 is negative 7x. Then I'm going to get the two inside terms, plus 5x. And then I'm going to get the last term. Positive 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. And then we're just going to combine any like terms that you have. So this becomes x squared minus 2x minus 35. Why am I reviewing FOIL with you today? Well, where I got to take you today is I'm going to give you this. You have to go backwards and give me that. And then we'll bring it home from there. Here's another FOIL for you. X minus 2 times x minus 8. I'm going to go here to here. So my first term is 1 times 1 is 1, x squared. And then x times negative 8 is negative 8x. And then negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And then negative 2 times negative 8 is plus 16. Combine any like terms that you see. And if you FOIL properly, guys, those will be the ones that we can combine. So this becomes x squared minus 10x plus 16. Of course, later, I give you that. You have to give me that. And then what we'll do from there is set each piece equal to 0. Here's one last one. My first terms, the f. 1x times 1x is 1x squared. Then I'm going to go x times 6. So I got plus 6x. Now the inside, negative 8 times x. So I got negative 8x. And then negative 8 times 6, negative 48. Combine your like terms. So I got x squared minus 2x minus 48. And then one last time, the reason I'm reviewing this with you, here pretty soon, we got to go backwards and get that. So, here goes your class examples. There's a lot here, so hang with me. I would like to find and solve this trinomial and find all of the roots. Here's what I mean by the roots. we have to factor x squared plus 9x plus 20. This is really, it's not going to seem like it at the moment. This is a shortcut so we don't have to graph. But here's our plan. I would like to unfoil this. So we're going to start with two parentheses and an x and an x, because x times x is x squared. Now here's your job. You need to go find me two numbers that multiply to be 20 that you can make add up to be positive 9. Well, my choices are 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. Look at those numbers and decide which one you can make add up to be positive 9. Well, it's these two right here. I'd have to use a positive 4 and a positive 5. So I'm going to put a plus 4 and a plus 5 right there. That's where I am for a second. Now I'm going to set this thing equal to 0. Now to solve it, to see where it would cross the x-axis, here's what I got to do now. I got to set x plus 4 equal to 0. And I got to set x plus 5 equal to 0. And then we solve each of those equations. So on this one, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So one answer is negative 4. On this one, I'm going to subtract 5. So my other answer is negative 5. And then notice once again, I put them in those cool little looking parentheses in the braces. Here goes our number 2. X squared plus 13x plus 12 equals 0. We're going to factor this again. So what times what is x squared? Well, that's x. So I'm going to go two parentheses, x and an x. Now your job, find me two numbers that multiply to be 12 that you can make add up to be that middle number, 13. Well, my choices are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. So we need to figure out which one of those we can make add up to be 13. I can't make 3 and 4 add up to be 13. I can't make 2 and 6 add up to be 13. So 1 and 12. So I'm going to have plus 1, plus 12. So there it's factored. Now what I need to do, set that equal to 0. To solve this, I need to set each parenthesis equal to 0. So on this one, I'm going to minus 1 from both sides. So one answer is negative 1. On this one, I'll have to minus 12 from both sides. So my other answer is negative 12. What we're doing here, guys, this is a shortcut so we don't have to graph this. Here comes my next one. I'm going to go ahead and pick the pace up just a little bit. To factor this, two parentheses, x and an x. I need you to find me two numbers that multiply to be 8 that you could make add up to be negative 2. So I'm going to list the factors of 8. 1 times 8, 2 times 4. Fix them up to where you can make them add up to be negative 2. Well, I can use a 2 and a 4 to add up to be negative 2. To do that, I need the 2 to be positive and the 4 to be negative. So I'm going to put a plus 2 here and a minus 4 here. I'm going to get rid of this now. Now what we do is set each of those terms equal to 0. So I'm going to set x plus 2 equal to 0. And I'm going to set x minus 4 equal to 0. And then we're going to solve each of those. On this one, I'm going to minus 2 from both sides. So one answer is negative 2. On this one, I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So the other answer is positive 4. Here's our number 4, 5, and 6. There's just a single x squared here in front. So I need to go parenthesis, parenthesis, x, x. I need two numbers that multiply to be 20. So my choices are 1 and 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Find the ones that you could make add up to be positive 1. Well, there's no way to make those two add up to be positive 1, nor those two. But I can make these two add up to be positive 1 if I use a negative 4 and a positive 5. So I'm going to go minus 4 and plus 5. Now set each of those parentheses equal to 0. I'm hoping that you can start doing this in your head so we don't have to write out this step right here. If I set x minus 4 equal to 0, I'm going to get positive 4 by adding 4 to both sides. If I set x plus 5 equal to 0, subtract 5 from both sides, I'm going to get negative 5. Here's my number 5. X squared minus 3x minus 18 equals 0. Parenthesis, parenthesis, x, x. Later on, we'll put a number in front of here, but today it's going to be x and an x. I need you to find me two numbers that multiply to be negative 18 that you could make add up to be negative 3. My choices are 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. Well, the ones I can make add up to be negative 3 would be a positive 3 and a negative 6 right there. So I'm going to put that in my parentheses up here, plus 3 and a negative 6. I'm going to get rid of this mess for you. Set that equal to 0. Set each of these parentheses equal to 0, which this answer is going to be negative 3, because I'll subtract 3 from both sides. This answer is going to be 6. And then we got it. Here's your number 6. I'm just going to pick the pace up a little bit. Hopefully you've got the hang of it. The hard part now is just getting the numbers. So parenthesis, parenthesis, x, x. Two numbers that multiply to be 24. My choices are 1 and 24. 2 times 12. 3 times 8. 4 times 6. Find the ones that you could make add up to be negative 2. Can't be 1 and 24. Can't be 2 and 12. Can't be 3 and 8, because that would have to be an 11 or a 5. So I need to use a 4 and a 6. I need to get negative 2, so I'm going to go minus 6 plus 4. And then we set each of those equal to 0. So my two answers, set this equal to 0. You would have to add 6. Set this equal to 0. You would have to subtract 4 and divide by 1. So you got it. Now I got a few more coming. If you understand what I'm doing so far, then you can fast forward to the next part of the video. Otherwise, it's going to take me about 30 seconds to click through each of these. If you're going to factor x squared minus 2x minus 24, 2 parentheses, x and an x, two numbers that multiply to be 24. So my choices are 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. The ones you can make add up to be negative 2, and I just now realized this is the exact same problem that we just did. So I got negative 6 and x minus 6 and x plus 4. Set each of those equal to 0. Your two answers, one's positive 6 and the other's negative 4. Because you're going to add 6, divide by 1, subtract 4, divide by 1. Here's your number 8. I'm going to go parenthesis, parenthesis, x and an x. Two numbers that multiply to be 56. So my choices, 1 times 56, 2 times 28, 4 times 14, 7 times 8. Hey, and don't feel bad if you got to use your calculator and get these factors. The ones that I could make add up to be positive 1 are right there. To do that, I need a positive 8 and a negative 7. we're going to set that equal to 0. If I set that parenthesis equal to 0, I'm going to get negative 8. If I set that parenthesis equal to 0, I'm going to get positive 7. Here's your number 9. X squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 0. Well, to get that x squared, parenthesis, parenthesis, x, x. I need two numbers that multiply to be 25. My choices, 1 times 25 and 5 times 5. I need to be able to fix them up to where they multiply to be negative 25, positive 25 I mean, but add up to be negative 10. Well, that one doesn't help me any. But I'm going to go minus 5, because negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. Negative 5 and negative 5 make negative 10. And then set each parenthesis equal to 0. So this answer is going to be 5. This answer would be 5. So there's my only solution. We did one like that on the worksheet the other day. It just touches the x-axis and starts going back up. A few more, then I'm going to change gears and show you another type. X squared plus 2x minus 63. Parenthesis, parenthesis, x, x. Two numbers that multiply to be 63, negative, that add up to be 2. Well, if you have to, come over and list them. 1 and 63, 2 doesn't go. 3 and 21, 4 doesn't go, 5 doesn't go, 6 doesn't go, 7 and 9. The only ones I can make add up to be 2, not that one, not that one. I would need a negative 7 and a positive 9. So I'm going to put a plus 9 and a negative 7 equals 0. And then we'll set each parenthesis equal to 0. We're doing that in our head now. To solve that one, I would have to subtract 9, divide by 1. On this one, I would have to add 7, divide by 1. Boom. There's my two answers. Here's my number 11. X squared plus 16x plus 63. Parenthesis, parenthesis. X, x. Two numbers that multiply to be 63. I should have left them up from a while ago. 1 and 63, 3 and 21, 7 and 9. The ones I can make add up to be 16. Positive 7 and positive 9. So I got plus 7 plus 9 equals 0. Set each of these parentheses equal to 0, so that one is going to be negative 7. This one is going to be negative 9. Hopefully you're at the point that you can just look at the parentheses and get the answer. My last one before I switch gears, parenthesis, parenthesis, x, x. Two numbers that multiply to be 66. Well, my choices are 1 and 66, 2 and 33, 66 divided by 3, 3 and 22, and 6 and 11. Well, the ones I could make add up to be negative 5, nope, 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 would be a negative 11 and a positive 6. Set each of those parentheses equal to 0. I've got 11 and negative 6. So there's my first group. That's called factoring a trinomial. Hopefully I did more than enough examples on that part to show you where they come from. Now this part's not on your sheet, but let me show you where the next little part comes from. This comes from undoing the distributive property. So pretend that I got 3x times the quantity x plus 5. If I distribute in here, I'm going to have 3x squared plus 15x. Of course, why did I show you that? We got to go backwards and get that. It's called factoring out whatever they have in common. Here's what this one would look like. Let me distribute, so I got 16x squared minus 24x. Of course, why did I show you that? We got to go backwards and get that. And then what we have to do once we get that is we set each of these equal to 0 and we solve it. So it looks like I got about 12 coming up at you. So hang on for the ride. Here goes the first one. I'm going to give you x squared plus 2x equals 0. Look at it and see what they have in common. Well, the only thing they have in common is an x. So we're going to factor out an x. And then what's left if you take out an x out of each term? Well, there's an x plus 2 left over. So there's where I got that so far. Now to go get your two answers, here's what you got to do. Set this piece equal to 0 and set the x plus 2 piece equal to 0. Well, if we do that, one answer for sure is 0 because that's what it says, x equals 0. On this one, I'm going to minus 2 from both sides. The other answer, negative 2. When they have something in common, 0 will always be one of your answers. Here goes your next one. I got 5x squared plus 15x. Look at the 5 and the 15. Anything in common? There's a 5 in common and an x. A 5 and an x. And then what's left is an x plus 3. Because if I distribute this, I would get back to 5x squared plus 15x. Now to get my answers, I'm going to set 5x equal to 0. I'm going to set x plus 3 equal to 0. And then solve them. Divide both sides by 5. 0 divided by 5, one answer is 0. This one, subtract 3 from both sides. The other answer is negative 3. But that's called factoring out a common factor. Here goes our next one. I got 4x squared minus 6x. Ask yourself, what's the greatest common factor between a 4 and a 6? Well, it's a 2. And an x. Then I'm going to put a parenthesis. 2x times something is 4x squared. Well, that something is 2x. 2x times something is negative 6. That's minus 3. You can check these super easily. Take 2x times 2x and see if you get 4x squared. Take 2x times negative 3 and see if you get negative 6x. If you do, you factored it correctly. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to set 2x equal to 0, and I'm going to set 2x minus 3 equal to 0. Divide both sides by 2. One answer is 0. Now be careful. The next one's not negative 3. Solve this thing. You would add 3 to both sides first, and then you would divide by 2. So the other answer is 3/2. Now we want to do this in our heads. Just think about the steps. If you're solving 2x minus 3 equals 0, you would add 3, divide by 2. That's what we were doing a while ago, but we were dividing by 1. Here's your number 16. Out of 6x squared plus 24x, decide what they have in common. The biggest number that goes into 6 and 24 is a 6. So I'm going to take out a 6 and an x. And then here comes a parenthesis. 6x times something is 6x squared. That something is an x. Then here's a plus sign, so I'm going to put a plus sign. 6 times something is 24x. That something is 4. Hopefully we're to the point now we're going to look at it and get the answer. 6 times something is 0. One answer is 0. X plus 4 equal to 0. Subtract 4 from both sides and get negative 4. Here's your number 17. 10x squared plus 8x. Look at the 10x squared and the 8x and decide what number goes into 10 and 8. Well, that happens to be a 2. So I got a 2x. And then a parenthesis. 2 times something is 10. That something is 5. X times something is x squared. That something is x. Then here's a plus sign. So I'm going to put a plus sign. 2 times something is 8 is 4. Notice I don't need the x, because 2x times 4 is 8x. Once I set each term equal to 0, 2 times something equals 0. So I'm still doing this. I'm just not writing it all out now. Divide both sides by 2. One answer is 0. Now, on 5x plus 4 equals 0, I want you to get to where you can look at that and know the answer. My first step would be subtract 4 from both sides. My next step would be divide by 5. So my other answer, negative 4/5. But here's what I want you to be able to do in your head. Once you look at the 5x plus 4, just ask yourself your steps. Step number 1, minus 4. Minus 4. Second step, divide by 5. There's your answer. It's a lot quicker to do it in your head. Here's number 18. Out of 3x squared minus 18x, we got to decide what's in common between a 3 and an 18. Well, that answer happens to be a 3x. And then what's left? 3x times something is 3x squared, so I got an x. There's a minus sign, so I'm going to put a minus sign. And then a 6. So I got 3x times x minus 6. Now set each of those terms equal to 0. So this one, 3 times something equals 0. One answer is 0. X minus 6 equal to 0. Think about the steps. Add 6. Divide by 1. Well, my other answer is 6. Keep noticing that I'm putting them in those braces. That tells the world these are the answers, these are the roots, these are the x-intercepts. It looks like I'm down to 3. So look at your last few. I got 7x squared minus 21x. We got to decide what's in common between a 7x squared and a 21x. Well, that something happens to be a 7x. Which leaves me an x minus 3 equals 0. Set this term equal to 0. 7 times something equals 0. That something is a 0. Set x minus 3 equal to 0. That answer is a 3. Done. Next to last one. I got 11x squared plus 44x. Try to decide what they have in common. So I'm going to take out an 11 and an x, which leaves me an x plus 4. Set each of those terms equal to 0. 11 times something is 0. So one answer is 0. X plus 4 equal to 0. Minus 4 from both sides. Minus 4. And then the last one. 20x squared minus 10x equals 0. Decide what's in common between a 20x squared and a 10x, and that something is a 10x, which leaves me a 2x minus 1. Set 10x equal to 0 and get 0. Set 2x minus 1 equal to 0. And then your steps, add 1, divide by 2. So 1/2. Hey, so look at what I've done with you today. I've covered two different kinds of factoring. The first factoring is if it looks something like that. There'd be 3 terms in there. If there's 3 terms in there with a C value, that's kind of the key thing. It's got to have a C value. If that's the case, then you're going to go 2 parentheses, an X and an X, and then you're going to find 2 numbers that multiply to be that C value, which in this case is negative 20, that you could make add up to be negative 1. So 1 and 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. The ones I could make add up to be negative 1 would be a positive 4 and a negative 5. Set each piece equal to 0, negative 4, and 5. Otherwise, you're going to have something that has something in common, and there's only going to be 2 terms. When that happens, you're going to factor out whatever they have in common, and then set each piece equal to 0. When that happens, one of your answers will always be 0, because there is no C value. The other one, just set that piece equal to 0, and then you got it. So that happens to be section 4.3, day 1. We're going to spend 2 or 3 days on this section because there's about 6 different parts to it. I just got 2 of them in you today. Good luck with your worksheet. If you have any problems, please come in. Good luck.